Is Blood Wave still overpowered in Season 8 after the nerfs? How much do the boss powers help? And which gear do you minimally need to start making this work? This character is 10 hours old, and it took me 3.5 hours from level 1 to Torment 1, and then in the next 3 hours we ended up in Torment 4. How much power does the Blood Wave build now have left? This is a Torment 3 boss fight, because Torment 4 boss fights get significantly boosted. But I'll throw in my glide, and then I'll press the button and the boss dies. 700, 600, 800 million, even a billion damage. And that with gear. 8 times masterworked, 8 times masterworked, 4 times, 6 times, the rest not masterworked. Hey, not even tempered the gear. And yet in Torment 3, we're an absolute menace. And that might officially be my first Belial I've gotten so far since I have ended up here. And that's also Belial. Good riddance, sir. Thank you. And killing this Lord Zur gives you the first item you cannot live without. The very good thing here is, you don't need to get this as a greater affixed item. Casami's Legacy makes your Blood Wave be butt cheeks that clap together. Without Casami's, this is how Blood Wave would be looking. I mean, it's okay, but you also have to wait until all 3 are cast before you can do anything. Actually, you would only get 1 wave because the triple wave is an aspect. With Casami's, you have the action happening together, and then with 1 twirl, you have the cooldown reduction happening. Which means you definitely won Casami's Legacy. And what you're most importantly looking for is Blood Wave cooldown reduction. In my case, I got a greater affix on Blood Wave cooldown reduction. That kind of kicks all the other cooldown reduction needs out of the water. This is only the first piece you need, but let's keep talking about how much power is left. Because the second piece you need is the title aspect. And the title aspect says Blood Wave fires 2 additional waves, each dealing 200% of normal damage, but you can no longer recast it until the last wave ends. Okay, understandable. You have them getting together, and then you collect the blood orbs, and then you clap them together again. That multiplier used to be 400%. Right now, I can do up to 1 billion damage, and I'm missing 200% possible damage to actually deal even more. The good thing is, we already leveled up some glyphs to level 45. It took longer than the past season, because now the pit is actually harder. That being said, Blood Wave can really nicely handle the pit tiers. Right now, this would be a Torment 4 boss. Remember the Torment 3 boss and how quick we killed him. To give you now a progression feeling, I am in with 130 Paragon points. This is Lord Zur. We hit him. Hundreds of millions of damage easily, and he's kinda chunking down, but he's not dying instantly. Not what you're used to be from Torment 4 bosses, that I press the button and the Torment 4 boss is gone. No, we're not there yet. Sure, if I now keep masterworking my gear and not have like this shoddy like 4 out of whatever masterworked, we'll definitely see me sending him back to the lobby. But you won't see that right out of the house, right? Like, not this OP Blood Wave, I pressed the button once and I instant won the fight. Which is a good thing, right? Because Blood Wave was like plenty OP. I actually have to fight, I have to look for the mechanics. I'm a bit screwed because they're the blood pools. We're not OP. Considering though that I can just jump into Torment 4 with the first ancestral items I got. I mean, this has a greater affix to damage, intelligence, max life. It doesn't even have critical strike chance, right? I just have like some up to a 15% chance to heal. Yay. Like, right, the not so good items. And yet I'm able to just jump into a tier 70 and already be happy. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the new Torment 4 is tier 55. And as I put on my Blood Wave gear in Torment 2, from the very beginning on, I was pretty much able to just do this. But even if I was just farming 55 to push up my glyphs, which is reasonable still, like, yeah, you're just right out of the house going to Masaka, and you're going to be able to kill all the Torment 3 bosses, get all the unique items, maybe even mythic items, and then prepare yourself to maybe pivot into a Bloody Bone Spear, or just keep flashing this out further because you notice how much more the damage potential could be. As overpowered damage is also life, and I'm sitting at a measly 10,000 life. And that 10,000 life can easily be risen up to 20,000, 25,000, which, well, more life, more fortify, more damage. That's how Overpower works. Simple as cake. Okay, now, what are the boss powers doing it for us, though? How do you flash out the build? Which skills should you pick? And why am I having, like, all these goddamn darkness skills in the bar when I'm not even using Reap or Decompose? Good thing about the boss powers, you get them right away in Torment 1. You need to kill the bosses for this, for example, in Dariel. And as soon as you get Torment 1, you just teleport to one of the bosses, and you don't even need a key to open their loot. No, you just summon them, kill them in Torment 1, and you have the boss power. In my case, I'm using Harbingers of Hatred Volley. That is from the lair boss in Nahantu. Casting a basic skill while at maximum resource spends all of it and makes all nearby enemies vulnerable. I don't need this. But it also says, activating your main boss power grants 18% increased vulnerable damage for 5 seconds. Boom. Another 18% multiplier. We love to see it. This gets followed up by Lilith Winds of Hate. Lilith killing at Torment 1 could be somewhat tricky because you need a lot of movement speed. Hitting an elite enemy with a main boss power creates a blood blister with 10% of their maximum life for 15 seconds. Killing the blister removes 2.6% of their maximum life. Yep. Bosses can have 2 blisters, and then we just destroy the blisters. Done. And they'll just get destroyed by our Blood Wave's collateral damage. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Considering that bosses later have multi-billion HPs, 2.6% sounds pretty good. Lastly, for mobbing, for farming, your main boss powers instantly execute non-boss enemies with less than 20% life. When you execute enemies, you gain 25 primary resource. Great. Helps in the pit a lot. Helps just as you're going through the world. Against solo boss fighting, though, when you go for lair bosses, not so useful. For this, I like to take Hatred's Embrace Haste, because it just gives me more critical strike chance. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, bringing this up to 100% crit chance. Alternative will be Belial's Eye Beam for another 11% increased overpower damage while stealth. This does not 100% work with Blood Wave. There's a bug where I think the 3rd wave doesn't get the bonus anymore. As your main boss power, I currently have Ashava's Poison, which says whenever I hit an enemy affected by damage over time and my Blood Wave is damage over time, I actually do a lot of damage to them, and that damage stacks up further, and further. The alternative is Uravar's Lopped Bomb, which gives us another 15% cooldown reduction. Right now, my Blood Wave is at 13.11%, and if I put on Uravar's Lopped Bomb, we'll just lose another 15% of that. Helps a lot. And that's it. Cooldown reduction is the name of the game. If you want to play Blood Wave, I said it, you need Kasami's Legacy, with preferable the Blood Wave cooldown reduction. Then a second tool is your Blood Orbs reduce ultimate cooldown by 4.5 seconds max. That is the fast blood aspect. Now, interestingly enough, I have a very low one. Mine is 2.1 seconds of possible 4.5 seconds. But I always have Blood Wave. Obviously, in the beginning, it was a bit more clunky. To streamline this even more, your rings should have ultimate cooldown reduction tempers. That's another 9.5, 10% ultimate cooldown reduction, and also here another 15% ultimate cooldown reduction because I masterworked it. Lastly, the helmet could have cooldown reduction too. With all of this cooldown reduction together, we're really always having the Blood Wave. The final piece, as mentioned, would be the title aspect for Blood Wave's Fires 2 Additional. That would make it 1, 2, 3 pieces that you should have, aspect and unique wise. And the pans, they drop from Torment 1 Lord Zur. I would recommend farming them with minions in Torment 2, and then transition over to Blood Wave. Now, in order to make Blood Wave even stronger, you play the Vehement Brawler's aspect, which says casting ultimate skill increases your damage by 30%, and you get 2 additional ultimate skill ranks, reducing the cooldown further, increasing the damage even more. That gets followed up by the Ultimate Shadows aspect, which does make your Blood Wave also be a shadow skill. That is really important because now all the darkness bonuses also have your Blood Wave profit from this. And in your skill tree, you, for example, play Gloom. When you damage enemies with darkness skills, they take 6% increased shadow damage from you and your minions for 2 seconds, stacking up to 4 times. Well, my darkness skills are like Blood Wave is darkness, so yay. The last offensive skill would be your Sacrificial aspect, which increases your sacrifice bonuses. And since we're throwing out our warriors for a lot of critical strike chance, and our skeleton mages for 43% overpower damage, that would usually not be 43%, but we sacrifice for higher, and the golem for even more critical strike damage, well, you get the drift. That is such a nice damage boost. Rounding this up with the aspect of the cursed aura, that I don't have to worry about cursing anyone. And the metamorphosis aspect on my boots, so I can just dash and get out of trouble. Lastly, we currently have the Juggernaut's aspect because I clearly don't have enough armor and I need pieces that do actually have armor on them and start tempering. The planner in the description below has the absolute optimal pieces. For the weapon, you then wanted to have chance for Blood Wave to deal double damage, but you don't even have to hit this with a masterwork because we already have the chance for Blood Wave to deal double damage at 50% on the pants. And then you need to only have to have it 50% on your weapon too. What you need to look out for is Blood Overpowered damage tempers, because Blood Overpowered damage just is the highest overpower potential you can get there. I mean, this is 422.5% more overpower damage. Absolute fire. Then maximum life is the name of the game. Every piece that can have maximum life, greater affix preferable, you should have, because maximum life is damage. Don't worry about fortifying though, because Casimi's Legacy, if you cast Blood Wave, fortifies you for 30% of maximum life. Ta-da! Now to the question of all the shadow skills. Why are they lurking around in our skill bar? And that's a trick that every Necromancer build uses right now. You need to put 2 points here anyways in the beginning, so might as well take 2 skills. Then we get the Blight that actually allows us to deal 20% increased damage. Okay, fantastic. We're still making corpses as well, as we can then use Corpse Explosion for that 40% bonus damage from the Paragon Board later. We do make the Corpse Explosion though a Darkness skill too. And this leads down here with a Reaper's Pursuit. For each Darkness skill in your action bar, gain movement speed and 6% more damage. Now let's check the action bar. That's 6, 6, 6, and 6% more damage. Just for existing. Just for being there. And in your Paragon Board, with 130 points right now, you wish to track into the sources of maximum life early. That's why we're actually going to the Blood Begets board as our first, but instead of activating the glyph, because the glyph doesn't really get you good bonuses, we just take the sources of max life, left and right. Actually, we're missing the 8% max life there. Let me reduce this point. Thank you very much. So we're taking the sources of max life and the Blood Begets itself. Then we already move over to the Bloodbath board for that 100% increased overpower damage. Here we do activate the Essence glyph though, because that gives us a lot of critical strike damage and multiplier, to then move into the Frailty board for that multiplier of damage against cursed enemies. Fantastic. But to also get Dominate glyph activated and even more maximum life. There is more maximum life waiting for us down there, but we're not going to take that yet. Rather, we move over to the right side, which has another maximum life boost, and quite significant of that waiting. We then the Flesh Eater node for another 40% and max life down here. Yep, that's going to be the name of the game. Get the max lives done first. Later, we'll flip some of these boards to make it easier accessible or different pathing. But in your first Paragon pathing, you're just going to bring it down to then, if you have 200 points, refund all and arrange the points better for the optimal pathing in the planner. Is Blood Wave still the best Necro build? Does Blood Wave beat Bloody Bone Spear? I do believe that Blood Bone Spear, in the long run, will do more damage than what we have with Blood Wave. That being said, more damage is not more ease of use. When I do this Blood Wave, go in a circle, then press the next Blood Wave, go in a circle, next Blood Wave. That's it. That's like our gameplay loop, and it's very relaxing. It's very easy to pull through. If I have to do the pit or leveling up my glyphs, might as well take what's just very simple and easy to play. Now, with the Bloody Bone Spear, for example, you gotta like put your Bone Prison down, and then you gotta have people stand in the Bone Prison and then reapply the Bone Prison, because otherwise you're not overpowering people in the Bone Prison, and so on. It also has just generally more moving pieces and equipment requirements. Now, I will play Blood Bone Spear as well. I will make it. But something gotta be said about the absolute ease of use that you have here with the Blood Wave. Now, when it comes down to boss farming, though, when it comes down to the lair bosses, I do believe it might be better to go for Blood Bone Spear at some point, because all the lair bosses have like some weird one-shot mechanics now in Torment 4. Even with like a lot of life, even with my defenses defensing and my cooldown reductioning, and my damage reductioning, sorry. Like, we're at the point where if I stand close to the enemy, like Lord Zur, unless I do billions and trillions of damage, which I'll do in the long run, I might just face some unfortunate one-hits. And with the Blood Bone Spear, like just taking your Bone Spear and throwing them on the distance, is certainly more convenient, I'd say. If I got you hooked on the Blood Wave, here's the full planner that breaks it all with a skill tree, Paragon, mercenaries, all of it. And if you're still leveling into this, that is the level 1-2 Torment 1-2 build with minions. Yep, minions, because it absolutely needs no investment. I didn't have even the unyielding commander aspect for my 220% bonus damage. And yet my minions were able to tier up Torment 2 easily, to then transition into the Blood Wave. And hey, there's even a planner for the Bloody Bone Spear. Also as bonus resources, this is the live stream, level 1-2 Torment 1 in 3 hours, and then Torment 1 to Torment 4, how we're transitioning away from the minions into the Blood Wave. All the resources for you. Tell me in the comments below if you're looking forward to play Blood Wave, which I'm using for any piece of content right now, into Bloody Bone Spear as soon as I get that Indira's memory pans. And also, if you're looking for more Season 8 tips on how to get most Spectre Ash possible, here you go. Enjoy. Have a fantastic good day.